What made you never touch a game again? I taught my little brother Maui how to play Counter-Strike the day our parents bought him his own computer for his 13th birthday. He'd wait by the door every day for me to get home, desperate to escape the empty house while our parents worked double shifts. For a kid who ate lunch alone and never got invited to parties, gaming was everything. After we won our first local tournament, Maui hugged me with tears in his eyes and said, "We're gonna make it together, right? Promise me." At first, Maui's dedication made me proud. Over summer break, he'd disappear straight into his room, emerging only for bathroom breaks. Mom would ruffle his hair when she brought him dinner plates, saying, "My little pro gamer." Then one afternoon, I knocked to ask if he wanted pizza and got no answer. I peeked in and saw him hunched over, headset on, surrounded by cool blue Gatorade bottles filled with dark yellow liquid. My stomach turned. "Dude, you." Maui shrugged. "Whatever. Bathroom breaks cost me ranked matches. All the Korean pros do this." He pulled up the leaderboard. "See? I'm ahead of you." I nodded, fully convinced this meant he was serious about our dream, and placed the pizza on an empty corner of the floor. When I moved out from my IT job, I left thinking he'd be fine. He had gaming, he had our parents, he'd be okay. I visited the house at the end of summer break and expected to come home to a happy family. Instead, I witnessed something much darker. The first thing that hit me was the sweet, sick smell of sweat when I opened his door. Moldy pizza boxes stacked like Jenga blocks. Fruit flies circled around like a wasteland wonderland, and Maui clearly hadn't showered in weeks. In fact, I swore he wore the same shirt I saw just before I had left. Mom approached me with tears staining her face. "He's a monster." Later that night, Mom finally snapped and pulled his power cord during a ranked match. I heard the crash from downstairs as Maui's fist went through his monitor. "You just cost me my promotion!" he screamed, and I ran up to find Mom pressed against the hallway wall, clutching the power cord while Maui towered over her, his whole body shaking with rage. After that incident, he installed deadbolts in his room. I tried confronting him about it, but he barely opened the door a crack. When I tried to push it open to air out the toxic room, he body slammed it shut from inside, my fingers barely escaping. "You don't visit enough to have opinions. I'm about to go pro, just like we planned, remember? Or did you forget about our dream too?" He hissed through the crack. I left after that, but guilt ate at me. So 2 weeks later, I packed up my old gaming peripherals and returned thinking maybe I could get the entire family to play together and fix things. When I entered the house, everything felt wrong. No lights or home-cooked meals, just silence except for the rapid clicking of mechanical keys and Maui's laughter drifting from upstairs. "Mom? Dad?" I called out. Nothing. I found Maui in our parents' bedroom. His entire setup moved there. Monitors glowed in the darkness. "Why are you in here?" I asked. He didn't turn around. "My room's under renovation. Don't go in there." His voice was flat, mechanical. "Where's Mom and Dad?" He shrugged. "Who knows? Maybe they abandoned me just like you." I frowned, heartbroken by his cold replies. At the same time, something in my gut screamed suspicion. While he was busy ranking up, I slipped down the hall to his old room. The smell this time was overwhelming. The dirty, rotting smell now mixed with Lysol and bleach, like someone was trying to mask it unsuccessfully. I pushed inside and froze. At the corner of the room, I spotted Mom and Dad's bodies bloated and discolored. I fell to my knees and threw up. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Then I heard breathing behind me. "I told you not to go in there." Maui stood in the doorway holding his karambit, the collectible knife I'd bought him for Christmas. "They kept trying to take my computer during a tournament. Can you believe that?" His eyes were empty. "They said I was sick. They tried to send me away." He stepped forward and I scrambled backward, knocking over empty bottles. I bolted past him, running for the nearest exit. He caught my shirt and we crashed into the parents' room where his setup was. I grabbed his monitor to steady myself and it toppled, taking his tower with it. "No!" Maui dropped the knife and dove for his computer like it was a dying child. "My rank! My matches! You destroyed everything!" He cradled the exposed motherboard, rocking back and forth. Sparks flew from a loose power supply cable. The wire touched his wet hands and his body went rigid. I called 911 with shaking hands, staring at my little brother's body twitching on the floor, surrounded by the broken pieces of his obsession. The paramedics and police arrived and wrapped the house in yellow tape. They recovered my parents' bodies and said they'd been lifeless for a week. Maui survived the electrocution, but suffered permanent nerve damage in his hands. He's in a psychiatric facility now, unable to hold a mouse properly, but still writes me letters about getting back to gaming, saying, "Once my hands heal, we'll finally go pro together. Brothers forever, right?" I sold the house and moved across the country, but still smell rot and Lysol in my sleep.